Testing, 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 testing. That was annoying, wasn't it? Publishing something like that on my podcast would have freaked me out when I first started podcasting or when I first started creating videos. You don't know this about me, but the first time I recorded a video for YouTube, I didn't know how to edit. So I recorded that video just like in one shot, and I recorded it 13 times on a Friday night because I wanted to get it just right. And here I am today, publishing a podcast episode where I touch the microphone, it makes noises, you can hear me clearing my throat. And I do that because I firmly believe that letting go of perfectionism is one of the key things we need to learn as entrepreneurs if we really want to make waves and if we want to make progress. So in today's episode, I want to have a really open conversation with you about perfectionism, the link to fear of failure, and how you can start letting go of some of that perfectionism that is keeping you small. Hello, and welcome to Fail to Win, a show where we love to make mistakes and learn from them so you can turn your passion into profits and live life on your own terms. I'm Amy van der Putten from FastForwardAmy, your host and coach, and I'll bring you a new episode with simple strategies every Tuesday. Did you know that every time I record a podcast episode, I am still nervous and I still sometimes procrastinate recording my episodes because I think I don't have enough time or it's not going to be good enough or yada, 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 yada. But over the past couple of years, with all of my podcasts in total, I've gathered over 1 million downloads. And that is surreal to comprehend for me because I remember back in 2020 when I launched my podcast that I was actually planning on launching a podcast already for, I think, a little over a year. I'd bought a really nice microphone. This microphone, by the way, still using the same one. I had headshots made. I'd made a cover photo, but I couldn't get around to actually recording the podcast episodes themselves because maybe I tried it once and the tech was difficult, or I heard myself breathing. I still to this day have trouble listening to my own episodes because I can hear the fact that my heart rate is a little bit higher. I can hear my breathing, and then I got voice coaching. And long story short, I was so focused on all of the things I didn't do well that before I launched my podcast, I'd announced and retracted the publishing of the FastForwardAmy show at the time twice because I was so afraid that people were going to listen. No, first I was afraid people weren't going to listen. And then something even worse occurred to me. What if people listen to the podcast? I can actually get them to listen. And then they don't like it. I didn't know it at the time. I kept coming up with excuses like, I don't have the time, or, timing is not right because I'm doing something else now. Oh, summer is busy, people won't listen. Oh, but then I'm on a vacation, I don't want to follow up. That I kept postponing the podcast until at a certain point, I decided, okay, Amy, let's be real for a moment. Why are you postponing launching this? And I had to be honest. I was afraid people weren't going to think it was good enough. Translation, in my head, I was afraid people weren't going to think I was good enough, aka I was lovable, likable, all of those things. And I was raised in a fairly high-performing way. I think most kids, well, many kids, I say kids, I'm 31, but many millennials from my generation, let's say, have been raised that way. It still baffles me, but as a kid, you go to school and you have to study well, and then you have to do good on a test. And if you don't do well on a test, maybe you even tried hard, you would get like these red slashes on your paper and you wouldn't do it good, like well enough or whatever. And I think from an early age, especially in the raising style that was very present there, I think there has been some progression in the way kids are raised. Not all of it good, by the way, in my opinion, but I think there has been some progress that's been made in terms of teaching kids not to link their self-worth to how well they do things. But for me, that's definitely been really, really difficult. So from a certain age, I linked having good grades to being a good kid, aka to being loved. And maybe you recognize some of this. Maybe you're kind of like me, that when you take care of people really well, you feel worthy, or all of that shit. I've said it on this podcast many, many times, but yes, I am in therapy. I think we probably should all be in therapy. And I also think that we can't out therapy everything, and some things are just ingrained really, really deeply. And if I look back at 2020 when I was, 2019 when I was postponing the launch of my podcast, it's so crazy how crippling that fear of failure was. So there's something a lot of people don't know is that fear of failure, many people think they don't have it. But perfectionism is often basically a way fear of failure exhibits itself. And so what I've noticed happening is often when I want to do something new or when I'm really upset about something, if I'm being really honest with myself, for example, I had this a while back. I was trying to renovate my bathroom. This is going to sound really stupid, but this is just a conversation we're having, you and I. I was trying to renovate my bathroom. It took me a really, really, really long time. Why? Because I don't know a lot about renovating stuff, and I'm not a really big Pinterest, like aesthetically pleasing person. Like I'm not big on branding and all of that. I wish I was better, but I never spent any time on it, so I'm not getting any better at it. And the same goes for my interior design. So I hired someone that didn't work out, hired someone else that didn't work out. We had a different vision on stuff. They expected me to have a style, and I didn't really know what my style was. And then I got into a relationship. So things just kept like going on, and I still didn't get anything in my house done the way I wanted it to get done. So what happened a while back is I finally got over some of those things, and I was trying to pick tiles for my bathroom, and I was trying to pick furniture for my bathroom. And I noticed that it took me a really long time, and it made me really insecure, and it put me in a really, really bad mood. And I was like, this is so weird. I am a fairly decisive person. I'm fairly direct. I'm fairly confident in many areas. So why is this happening? And I had to sit down with myself. I was like, Amy, you are simply afraid that you're going to be spending money on something and it's not going to be worth the money. You will have fucked up, and you are just basically tripping over yourself because you put the bar so high and you feel like you're not allowed to choose the wrong tiles or to fuck up because like you're going to marry this bathroom forever and ever. And then my boyfriend is a really big perfectionist. He won't mind that I'm saying this. I think there's really good sides to it as well. Sometimes he's able to do things in a way that I can't. I've been calling myself a recovering perfectionist, but put the two of us together and we just procrastinate on decisions because the both of us are like, shit, we're doing this adult stuff and we have to do it really well. Until we looked at each other 2 months ago and we were like, you know what? This isn't going to be forever. It's going to look better than what we have right now because we had a leakage. So basically the floor was broken up. Like everything was just not looking good. Like I trip over myself. There's a hole in my bathroom right now. Well, not right now because they're working on it. I'm recording this episode fairly late at night, by the way, because there was noise in my house all day long. But okay, I digress. Back to the point. We looked at each other a few months ago and we just told each other, this isn't going to be forever, and we're allowed to fuck up, and we don't have to make or create the perfect bathroom. The tile doesn't have to be perfect. It's going to be better than what we have today. And this is something in my work life I learned a couple of years ago, and it started with that podcast. It started with realizing, you know what? Even if people don't like my podcast, or even if, they think I need to breathe less or I say certain words weirdly in English or whatever, it's still going to be better than not having done anything at all. And it's when I realized that I became such a big fan of doing things perfectly imperfect. To this day, I preach this. I just hosted an event that was called Imperfect. I hope to host this many, many times. I look at my bathroom renovations that way. I look at my event that way. A few weeks ago, my boyfriend and I were having a conversation and he said, why don't you have affiliates for your event? And I was like, well, because this is the first iteration and we only have a limited capacity for what we can do. I would love to have affiliates someday, but this is iteration 1 and I have to let go of some stuff. I can't do it all right now. And this is something I had to learn in coaching. We can have it all, but we can't always have it all at the same time. So the reason for me recording this episode, because I'm going to be honest, this episode was actually going to be 7 things I'm changing in my marketing in 2025. I'll record that one for January. I basically see people, it makes me so sad. It almost makes me cry. But you might be doing this to yourself as well. I certainly do it to myself. Is I see people who have so much potential, who have the wildest dreams, but they start getting this icky feeling. And because they have this icky feeling, they think it's their intuition telling them not to do something. You know that feeling like, oh, it's not right time. Yeah, I shouldn't do it right now. But what if that icky feeling wasn't your intuition? What if that icky feeling that you have about the big thing you want to do, about, going on that first date, painting your wall, starting that podcast, going live on Instagram, what if the icky feeling you have about that big thing isn't your intuition telling you it's the wrong time? But what if that's actually fear of failure holding you back? What if you had so much more potential inside of you that you keep putting inside a little box because you feel like if I get outside of that box and I let all of the potential out, I'm going to get hurt. Because you know what? Failing is not fun. Your body and your brain do not like to fail. I hate getting criticized. I'm still learning how to accept feedback. My team even noticed when we have feedback from clients, I ask feedback after every single fucking Zoom session. Every single month, I'm always asking my clients feedback, but I can't look at it when I'm not feeling well. Even when it's very positive feedback, there only has to be this one little thing that can throw me off kilter when I'm not feeling well. So I've really had to train myself to look at feedback not as criticism, but as things that can help me grow, and to always be thinking, I'm a work in progress, my work is a work in progress, I can do it perfectly imperfect. And that has allowed me to take big steps. So if we look at our event, for example, my big dream is to have Anthony Robbins style events. I want to have a New York Times bestseller, all of that stuff. But when I came back from LA and I told my team, hey, I want to do a 2-day event. This is the dream. I don't know if we can do a 2-day event, but do you think should we do an event? They were very excited and everything, and then we started planning it, and we saw that for the first iteration, doing 2 days was going to be too difficult for the budget we had, for the time frame we had, for everything we had going on, and the size and the capacity of the team. And I kept on telling them, because my team struggled with this too. They're very intelligent and also sometimes a little bit perfectionist, and they tend to kind of lose themselves in the details. Hey team, love you, bye. I told them, guys, we can scale it back to 1 day. We could even just do an afternoon or an evening. We don't have to do the perfect event right now. We're doing the imperfect first version. And the second version will be a bit better. And the third version will be a bit better. And the same goes for you. But I think what I want to achieve with this monologue is throw out awareness out there that sometimes when you feel icky or you're procrastinating or you're not doing something and you're retreating back to your safe space, it's not because it's not a good idea. It's just a really, really scary idea. But what if you were afraid and you did it anyways? What if in the upcoming year you promised yourself that you're going to do really fucking scary things and that you're going to dare bigger? That's my wish for you. This is not a Christmas episode. This is just my wish for you. I really, really wish that in the upcoming year, you let go of fear of failure. You don't try to not be afraid, but that you feel the fear. You feel the perfectionism creeping up. You feel the procrastination creeping up, and that you decide to do it anyways. Because you're going to learn much more. You're going to improve much more from doing the things than from postponing the things. Because theoretically, overthinking something isn't going to make you better at doing something. You're going to learn so much from doing something. And remember, by the way, that the people who criticize you, who would actually criticize you, I know a lot of my clients struggle with family members who don't support them, with partners who don't get what they're doing, with people who actually make fun of them. The people who are making fun of you trying to get better aren't the people who have gone where you want to go. So listen and take advice from the people who have gone where you want to go or who have helped other people go where they wanted to go. And stop taking advice and criticism from people who are afraid inherently themselves. Dare bigger, play bigger. And if you want some help with that, I wrote a book. Maybe this is the New York Times bestseller. I should write, I don't know. And the book is called The Belief Book. And it's a mindset book, an ebook about how you can boost your belief in yourself, your self-worth, your confidence, all of it. And it talks a little bit about procrastination, fear of failure, perfectionism. So if you feel called to these topics and you're like, Amy, you might be right. I might be a little bit of a perfectionist and I might need to break through that. Obviously, you can go see someone about it. And you can also just download my book to get started. And then maybe you can take a couple of tips from it about reframing wins and all of that and start taking some action. And maybe that will also help you get over yourself so you can go and talk to someone like a therapist. I know that's scary in and of itself. I know I've had trouble with that when I was younger and, asking for help and then being disappointed when you got the wrong kind of help, stuff like that. Those setbacks sometimes really hold us back from daring to reach out again. So I'll gladly gift you this belief book as a present. You can go and grab it by just DMing me on Instagram. Belief book, all in one word, so belief with an F. Belief book, one word, or go to the link in the description of this episode and I'll send it your way. You'll get it from me within a couple of minutes after filling out your details. And that's my gift to you. It's available both in English as well as in Dutch. And I hope you enjoy it. Okay. And let me know if you like this episode. I see that mindset episodes do really well. It's just sometimes I don't realize certain things or things are important until I have a conversation with someone. Like this episode today got inspired by a conversation I had today with someone, both because of my own patterns as other people's patterns. I had a client of mine actually who told me today that when she started her launch 2 weeks ago, in the beginning, not many people were buying. And after 2 days, she was like, I'm going to give up. But then she didn't because she told herself, you know what? If I give up, I'm not going to achieve anything regardless, so I might as well keep going. And now 2 weeks in, she's going to hit her first 100K month. And those 6 sales that were not a lot turned into already over 85 sales. I say over 85 sales. That's very specific. 85 sales and counting. I haven't checked my phone on her updates. So remember that. If you don't do anything, you get nothing. So you might as well try something. And even if you get nothing from it, at least you'll get experience from it. Have an amazing day. Go and download the Belief book. And I'll see you next week for a Christmas episode, I guess. Bye.